Vinee Ajmera is a founder and chief executive of Personage. She's an executive coach. She's a positive transformation facilitator and an international speaker. Vinee Ajmera helps leaders and organizations unlock and maximize their potential while rediscovering their inner brilliance. She's a sought after positive transformation and communication specialist who has been spotlighted on TEDx talks and other coveted forums. Did your parents make you feel safe in your childhood?
Yes, they made me feel safe. They of course gave me the classic briefs for whenever I would have to get into the school bus, or if I had to go anywhere, that don't talk to strangers unnecessarily, and if a stranger gives you a chocolate or anybody else, you can't take that chocolate without asking mom or dad. So I had all those briefs, and then I think to a great extent my elder sister also. We also grew up, to be honest. My grandmom was pretty particular about people. Like, I don't think it had to do with anything to do with not being safe more than hygienic. She just didn't like many people touching the kids of her family. So she was like, don't, like, just look at them, watch them, but don't touch them. Or she'd like scrub us and everything. So since then, all of us are very aware that people shouldn't come close to us or this, because they are like, it's not hygienic for everyone to touch you. So yeah, but we've always felt safe. Or honestly, we even grew up with our neighbors, and like I remember a lot of my days at my neighbor's place, upstairs, next door neighbors. But I think all in all, they were all very like, how do I say, they were family. They still are. A space where I have a voice also. So I think my parents would listen. I was always, and since we're talking of me, but we're like three sisters. I don't think if we had anything to say, it was ever dissed. Like maybe the fights we would have had is that he's taken my toy, or he pushed me and I fell down, kid. Those kind of fights where my mom would always say that, but you have to be, you don't fight back. You be the sensible one. But we've never had, but she would hear us out. And then of course we would be applauded for that, right? That okay, fine, if you are not fighting back with a kid, because every day we are falling and every day we are playing. So to me, I think the way we've grown up is that at no point was any concern of ours just dismissed or uh, done. And I think we always had parental presence. And like I said, if we didn't have it, we had like my next door, who were my favorites, my next door neighbor, my upstairs neighbor. Uh, I, I think to me, all of that was my world. And I was like, we were all good at playing games. And we were very few girls in our building. Everybody else was a boy. But, I was like a pakka limbu. So it was, I think to me, a safe space would just mean that you can go and speak to somebody about anything. Like I can go and complain, or I can, like, if I want to complain about my parents, I could go to my neighbors and complain about them. Or if I wanted to complain about them, I could come to my parents and complain. So at any given point in time, we felt that we didn't know of a concept called. Let me put it this way: I did not know of a concept called safe space, because that's the only space I knew. For me, equality is equal opportunities,
Mhm.
equal choices, and equal treatment. Well, it's expecting to. I think when one comes entitled, well, I think it can have a few connotations, positive and negative. But if I may say, I think some things are understandable, that is an expectation of either a right or a privilege, right? You just feel that this is something that I deserve and I should get. I don't think anybody feels entitled because they are born in a certain family, because then they are privileged and they get, there is no sense of entitlement. They have it. I personally think, I think that's a misnomer. It's a misconception. I think sometimes, like I said, in a positive way, entitlement is what each one should have, which is an entitlement of right, whatever. But if it's an entitlement of privileges, I do personally believe that, again, depending on which context it is, I personally believe everyone needs to deliver their dues before they feel entitled. or I don't even think it's feeling entitled, right? Anyone that comes entitled is generally met with disappointment. So no, I don't think I've had a privileged life. That way, yes, I've had a privileged life in that it's been a functional family. It's been a very boring, steady graph where there haven't been. Of course, I've had some very stark challenges, but nothing in context of what we are talking about. But I don't think I came entitled that way. I just think I don't think if you come from a, I don't think rich people feel entitled. Trust me. I mean, I don't think that that question what you said is, and I'm not. I don't come from a rich background. I come from a very modest background. So I think entitlement is sometimes in the negative connotation would mean that um, without really deserving it or without really having done something about it, you feel that you without contributing any value, you feel you deserve it or you have a right to it. That said, it may be about true things like whether it's your rights, whether it's your right of choice, whether it's your right of anything, even like a basic the basic thing, even on basic essentials in life. uh, I think as human beings, the day we were born entitled with certain tenets, right? Certain basic tenets of existence. So I don't think entitlement is wrong in that sense, but I don't think if someone is rich, they feel entitled or then they are entitled. I don't understand that English, to be honest. I'll be very honest. I don't. I know a lot of people who may have money, may not have money, but they come entitled, and you sometimes feel that they come entitled for the wrong things, not for the right things. So it has nothing to do with. I think it has to do with an individual's mindset, in my opinion. Well, honestly, growing up, I did not even know much about it except for one odd incident that I'd heard of someone well known to me. That ironed me. And I've always been the kid who was ready to go out there and fight. Like I could fight with anybody. I could go and fight like I was like this really young kid, maybe 7, 8, 9, but I've always grown up like a warrior. So I could go and fight somebody who had even had a gun. So yes, that ironed me. But I think apart from that, lately in the last many years, I think even when I actually went and joined an international airline, and then I had friends from various different cities, and I started hearing about some of their experiences. That's when my eyes actually opened to something like this, and it still felt very, very shocking, extremely infuriating, but uh, also on an individual level. I just felt it for her, for me. I wanted to kill the person, whoever my friends would talk about. But it was at that level when you're 21, 22, feeling like this is a new concept. This is something that's making you angry. I think I've become more cognizant of it as a responsible citizen or as a responsible person or a grown up only in the last, I'd say, 10 to 12 years. And well, have I heard of these incidents around me? Not too many. Maybe a couple of years ago, it happened to a very dear friend's child. But other than that, I have not heard. It's what you read in the papers. But I had not heard of too many incidents. Now it's starting to scare, like, because now you read these incidents and then you start seeing, oh my god, I know this school, or oh my god, I know this location, or I might even probably know this person who's being accused. And we're like, this is really everywhere, and it is the truth. It's not a one-off. So I think in the absence of parents, if
Okay.
if a child is entrusted with somebody who's very familiar, um,
Mhm.
yes, that's when it does. In fact, this is not what I thought about earlier, but I do recall hearing this from. I remember my sister telling me an incident where she knew, and we were still young. I mean, young as in I may have been 13, 14, so I was sensible in that sense, and she may have been 5 years older. But I remember her telling me of some incident where even the house help used to take all the kids to the terrace to make them play because that's what he was entrusted to do. But he has he also did take advantage because my sister's friend had come and told her about it. But and he used to make all the children play. I mean, parents would send their children. The other incident I told you was actually, someone that I knew. Like, so it was one of my friend's sisters who who was playing with the neighbor's cousin, like some neighbors who used to apparently visit very often. I've also gone to their house and I've also known that. And I think she happened to mention, and I didn't, my friend got it, but because I was always of that state of mind, I didn't think of it like sex or violation, or anything. I just said, how dare he do that? I think he fingered her in the wrong place, right? So, and that kid must have been maybe 2 or 3 years old. Like, he was carrying the kid when he fingered her, and she went and told, like, my friend, who must have been 1 or 2 years older than me. And I remember I was there. Like, when she went and told us, and she came to her, and I was there with her, and I got very angry, and I said, no, we have to do something about it. And I don't know what eventually happened, but we know that that guy was stopped from coming to that neighbor's house. Like, he wasn't allowed to come. So maybe we did something about it. I don't recall.
Do you know about the laws in our country for child sexual abuse?
Vaguely, like, I do know that that if a child so mentions, then that incident needs to be reported, I think. And I mean, of course, I've heard of prevention of child sexual offenders or offenses. Yeah. So, POCSO. So, of course, I'm aware of that. I don't know what eventually happens, but I'm aware that there is a law to report child sexual abuse. I'm sure there are systems in place where I think there is a certain kind of counseling that happens even for the parents who probably may go through it. And but I'm completely conversant with it. I'm sure it's something we all should be. I do have two versions to this, to be honest. Yes, for there should be, and at the same time, the fear is it always right in terms of what if a parent suspect, that thought always crosses my, what if a parent suspects or somebody comes and says and the child just goes with the flow. So I often wonder that when punishment is very, and I am very, very radical. Like, I would, like, trust me, I would just want them punished to the toughest level if they are the offenders. Yes, for sure. That said, I also think and I'm not sure if it's happening in schools. I don't have children, so I don't know. But I also think parents should be made aware of how to deal with it, because very often they feel stigmatized. Forget about the child. And also, they diss the child. We've seen movies like those too, and I think those are based on real life movies. So, also, the child doesn't have the courage to speak up because the child feels that because of me, there'll be too much too much of chaos. So I do believe the law should be stringent, but I also believe that there should be like mandatory, I don't know if that's happening already, like there's posh in corporates, but I think there should be mandatory lessons on it for parents, from school itself.
Would you think touching the breast of a child while she is wearing clothes would be considered as child sexual abuse?
Yes, and I think that's not apparently in the law. I think it's when you go through the clothes, which is quite stupid. But yeah. But then again, I'll be very honest. I carry children, and you know, people don't always carry with the intention of touching the breast of a child. When you're carrying, you'll carry. It's so, that's the fine line. And I just personally believe, I don't know how this can work, but hands touching the breast, I don't know, maybe when the breasts are formed, I don't know, so maybe you should have an age for that. I don't know if that's how it's done, but infants or 4-year-old, 5-year-old, people do pick them up. I mean, how do you determine? And I see that, come on, I have niece and I have nephew, and they are very close to all their uncles and aunts, and very loved, and they love back. But at what point will you draw the line? So I think maybe according to age, because I'm sure there is a good touch and the bad touch, right? And a child can be taught to understand that. I don't know when they're really little, can they? But my niece, well, right from the beginning, we've given them rules. Like we've actually given them rules in a very cute way, even for mama, papa, masi, uncle, everyone, in a very like in a standard way, so that there's no confusion. Like, is this time okay, that time okay, this person okay, that person okay? But they're really little, but they do understand. I mean, my niece is 3 now, but she understands since the time she's 1.5 too, that people can't just come and touch you or come close to you. So what is official, I don't know.
Is showing nude pictures to a child, would that be considered as a child sexual abuse?
I think it's a sexual abuse, period. So yes, whether it's to a child or an adult, it's unacceptable. No, it is 100% child sexual abuse. I'll be inauthentic if I tell you, well, I know a couple of, like, to be honest, guy friends who have told me that they've gone through it, but they laugh
Mhm.
about it today. I mean, they actually say, listen, well, I didn't mind, some nanny having done whatever. So, that said, I think that's what I keep saying. It's the aftermath, which is also very, very traumatic, where I don't think the whole world and their fathers need to go and counsel the child or, keep asking the child or over caring, showing this thing to the child that something really preposterous or blasphemous has happened. And it's really my opinion. Maybe every case could be different. But I do believe that the more you hype it, the more disturbing it can get for the child. So while you need to make sure the perpetrator or the culprit is taken care of, I personally believe the child needs to feel heard. The child needs to, obviously maybe at some point be made comfortable about the fact that he or she has shared it. But beyond that, I don't think one should rub it in to the child, because that's what the child cannot recover from. In fact, I don't recall this. I remember a friend of mine telling me about this study, and I may not be able to cite it exactly, but it was in here. I think it was in some other country. I don't know if it was US or Australia, where there were these twins who were violated, I think, by their teacher, and they did not know this all the way until they grew up. And then I think there were other people who were violated, or one more person was violated, and then it was proven, and then they got to know that we were played with or we were molested growing up, and they couldn't handle it after growing up when they learnt it, and they
Mhm.
both committed suicide. So I don't know if you're in this. You've been in you are sort of running this so beautifully. I don't know if you've heard of this thing, like, right, you're how do I say, actively involved in this. But I do remember this conversation and discussing the study with someone a while back. And so I personally believe, do they recover? I think if they are aware of it in that, it really depends one to the degree of the abuse, but also to their understanding and awareness of its impact, and how they then see it, and subsequent actions like the aftermath. I think that is equally disturbing as it will be. So, do they recover? Well, I know some people who know of it and can laugh about it, and some people you know who were disturbed, like I told you, my friend, when I went, and my former colleague, and some very dear friends of mine, where they said that their dad's friend would come and just, they were just growing into puberty, and they would just still play with them like they used to when they were little, but then this time throw them on the bed and then go over them and press their breasts. So that's sickening, and that still makes them sick. I mean, now of course it's 20 years since. Like, I'm talking about my former colleagues who may have told me this 20 years ago, and it may have happened to them 10 years prior to, 2 or 7 or 8 years prior to. But of course it disturbed them. I'm not I don't think they think about it every day today, but of course it is disturbing. It didn't disturb them, it disturbed me when I heard about it. So I just think it's not just the child also, and I think at that time the onus is on everyone around, however disturbed they are, to make sure first the safe space is created for the child. I think his sister looked pretty, how do I say, perceptive. So what will happen in this child, like what should happen? Well, I personally think she really needs to speak to her parents. That person that who's obviously the perp needs to be dealt with and pulled out of the child's life and be reported. And I don't think the little boy needs to be told that something bad has happened to you, but he needs to be primed that these are bad things. This is a bad touch, and this should not happen in a much milder, casual way. That like the way all parents now teach their children about the good touch and the bad touch, which is not that hey, because you have now gone through this, you need to know, but this is a need to know. This is something that's need to know, not good to know, and you need to make sure that nobody comes close to you. And I just think the child doesn't need to deal with it. uh, his custodians, his guardians need to make sure that they pull him out of that situation and make sure that yeah, that those people are not around anymore and reported. I think they should report. If I come across a situation like that, yes. But like I said,
Okay.
I would do that if that's what you told me to do, or I'll call you and tell you what do you want me to do, punch the guy or the girl. I genuinely believe that parents need to be primed to deal with these situations as well as a safe space. I uh, I think they get very disturbed, and I know this has happened to a friend's son, like, and not by any adult. Sadly, just another kid, 2 3 years older than him, right?
Right.
And haven't met the child, but apparently the child took time to come out of it, and the parents, I mean, the father still looked disturbed. So, I what can I do to create a safe space beyond? I don't know, beyond giving a listening ear, beyond making them aware of something like this happens. I don't know what I'm happy to hear from you, but what else can one do to make it a safe space? I would just say that the way I felt, because maybe this is not something very active in my view. Sometimes we don't look into these things, but it's important for us as a society to be alert, to be aware, and also to create these safe spaces for the newer lot, for the kids to grow up and thrive. I am a Rakshan.
Thank you so much, Vinny. Have a good evening and thank you very much.